right. And I think people should kind of stop shying away from or shunning those who use it for better purposes than just going out to. Just stop shunning people who smoke weed. Period. You know.
It's we have that long history of stigma on it, and unfortunately, that stigma was tinged in racism, and that stigma was tinged in propping up an industry, and so it's hard to shake that from the minds of a lot of people. But I think we're having quite a generational shift in our country right now. I mean, you and me are about the same age, and I mean, I don't know anybody in my inner circle who, one, hasn't tried it, or two, has a problem with it, even if they haven't tried it.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of but there's still, it's new in this whole. I literally thought when I started, hearing the tremblings of legalization in the country, I really thought maybe 25, 30 years. Yeah, we'll see it. It's been a really fast, expansive. I mean, it's medically legal in over like 30 something states now, and it's now recreationally legal in 6. I mean, and it's recreationally legal in the largest state in the union too. When California does something, it has a big effect.
Oh yeah,
because there's more people in California than anywhere, and so when you see because what's going to happen is you think Colorado's made a lot of money on marijuana tax. Wait till Californians buy.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, because you can even make hemp. I mean, you can use the plant itself for other. Yeah. It's not just smoking.
And it's renewable. That's the thing. Paper, fiber, anything you can make out of the plant itself. And the prohibition on it. I mean, if you look at every aspect of the prohibition, it's prohibited. We can't grow it as an agricultural crop for fiber. That's ridiculous. To look at the prohibition legally, we're putting people in prison for years of their life for this, which is absurd. If you look at the prohibition from a public safety standpoint, it's not any more. It's actually far less dangerous than alcohol, and yet you can buy alcohol on nearly every corner in America.
Yeah.
If you look at the prohibition from a medical standpoint, it's ridiculous. So, getting over that cultural stigma has been the only real roadblock of it. Because once, I mean, what these states who legalize it, what Colorado showed us, and being God bless their heart, they have a really free mindset there in Colorado. When they made it a state constitutional amendment that it's now legal. It opened it almost completely freely. So it's not unregulatable, but they made it a state constitutional amendment so people can grow it in their yards. You can have a shop of it where pretty much almost wherever you want. I think they have limitations around schools and churches and things like that, which is reasonable. Mm-hmm. But what you see is now in Colorado, you even have cafes where you can do it almost in public. You have to be in the cafe to do it, and what they saw is it had no moral or real degradation on society. Mm-hmm. And it just blew the whole stigma, the cultural stigma of it out of the water.
Yeah.
And so now I think you see the snowball effect of that.
Yeah, the thing that keeps me away, I've always, I had this talk with Arlene, and it's like, I'd like to go get a card. However, I also... we're so, I guess, professionally tied by the hands. I can't take what am I looking for? I can't take the risk of having dirty piss if I want to go somewhere, and that's the only thing. That's the one thing that's kind of like setting me to the side on my personal use, but anyway.
No, I know what you mean. It's unfortunate. I know exactly what you mean. The reason I was hesitant to talk about this in the first place is because I was thinking about my future professionally.
Yeah, and that's actually the sentence, the term I say is, well, what if I want to run for president one day? Or what if I want to run for Congress? So
Right.
I can't get a card. So, but
what if you want to get a job with the state?
Yeah.
Or what if you like? It's still, here in Washington, it's still it's legal publicly, but here's the hanger. If a private company still says you can't work here if you piss positive for marijuana, that's okay. Yeah. And I'm like, how can you have that policy when it's legal in the state?
Yeah.
And so it really is coming to this head where, there was a time there where I was applying to be a foreign service officer, and I was just like, I'm really going to have to change my lifestyle, because I would have gone back to it. I'm like, if it's something my job prohibits, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to risk anything professionally to, that's not something I absolutely have to live. Yes, it makes my life better in every single way I can use it to make my life better, but I'm not going to jeopardize my family's food on their table.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. 1,000% exactly. Man, so you got out of the Navy. You had to go through some ups and downs of trying to figure some stuff out. For instance, you had you almost missed the deadline for applying to college, and then you met somebody at a job you had that happened to be a college counselor. Do you believe in fate at all? Do you believe in that you're being guided to something better? Do you believe that you're creating your own destiny, so to say?
That's why I'm not a big believer in it, but sometimes, you're confronted with these moments that you look back upon and you go, it just doesn't make any sense any other way.
Yeah.
It was kind of put there. It seems like it's a reason. And I don't know if it's circumstance or if it's destiny, but it seems that there are those turning points, and whatever you want to call it, I think there are those moments when everybody comes there. You see, hey, something was put my way that you either pivot on and you make a decision to act on what gets presented in front of you, or you don't. That person could have came into the gym and said, I work at a community college, and I'd be like, right now I got to go worry about my other shift. And, it would have never been a history check in my past. It would have been like, so that was a pivotal moment.
Yep.
But I think if you're, like we talked about before, if you're open-minded to some things that come in front of you, and you're willing to talk with people, see, a lot of stuff that's come around in my life is just because I can talk somebody's ear off. If you could tell from this, you can't shut me up. I would talk to people, and that's where it comes out what they do, who they know. Oh, let me get you in touch with this people. And when you talk to people, when you create that personal link with them, even if you're not a great orator or you can't, you have nerves talking. When you get face to face someone, it's a lot easier to talk to them about something. And people are so quick to want to make connections and put you in places and do favors for another human being. We're all like that. We all want to do it. If you have somebody come up to you and say, hey, Mr. Graves, I'm trying to do this, and you're there, do you be like, I don't have time for you, kid? Or do you go, yeah, man, let me sit down with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been shunted away from asking someone for their expertise, man. So it's really, struggling, whether it's fate or whether it's coincidence or it's fate, I don't know. But be mindful to key on moments that might be important for you, or that you come across somebody that, hey, this might be a person I want to know in the future.
Yeah.
And try to cultivate that relationship. And you can seek that out. It might not, you don't just run into that person by happenstance. That has happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people. You can seek those people out too. Yeah. I want to be in this industry, man. Go find that guy who's there and go give him a call and be like, I want to be where you're at one day, man. And they get such an ego fluff out of that shit. They are going to go sit with you and talk with you about it and feel like they have knowledge to give to you. Like it fluffs an ego, and I've never been turned away. So anyone who's transitioning out into the civilian world and thinking like, man, how can I meet someone in there? Just go old school, get them on the phone.
That's right. I want to be your best friend. It's funny because, anybody who is looking for a job, as a transitioning vet, I always tell them, you know what, carry a USB with a resume on there, and if you have to print one out automatically, you can go get one real quick. But if you have a resume, go walk it into the place. Oh no. They only take resumes on Indeed or Monster. No. Listen to what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is permission sometimes. Go in there. Hi, this is my name. This is my resume. Here's a face to the name. Oh, I have to go put it in online? Okay, I'll do that tonight. But they know your face now, and they know that you're a go-getter. You know, you've now stood out from the other 1,000 people who've also applied for that job. But yeah, I'm a big proponent on watching out for those open doors, because if you don't want to call it fate, it's still a door that opened, and you got to peek your head through it. Because if you don't peek your head through it, you'll never know what's on the other side.
Yeah. To be honest with you, when you ask me that question, I'm not a believer in fate. I believe you make your own opportunities, and I'm like, if you want to be somewhere or do something, you can work hard enough to do it. Now, if it doesn't work out, if you fail at it, that happens in life, man. It happens to everybody. Everybody hits a setback. Everybody gets roadblocks thrown away. Shit, I don't have to tell you this. I know that you had one route set out, and then you have to make a course correction, man.
Yep.
And so you're hit with failure. But like I said, the opportunity, you got to find out the way to make your opportunities. And there's nothing like, I don't hate, aligning myself with the fates, because it is still, I'm so blown away by the mysteries of our universe that it could be. Who fucking knows? But at the same time, I've found out in my life that the more I go after something, the more it becomes an opportunity for me to be there.
Yeah.
Now, I've failed that I've applied to law schools I didn't get into. I've applied for jobs where I interviewed and didn't get it. I've been completely shunned from applying for a job. I've done the whole gamut of things. I've hit failure after failure. I went almost 3 years out of law school without a job in the legal profession because of circumstances within and without my control. So having your mind in that mindset that you can create your own success is important. And it gives someone the enthusiasm to approach a goal, to say, hey, if the hard work I put into this is going to make it. I don't like people having the notion of consequence, because it gives them the mindset that their success isn't up to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't like putting that in my mind. So I am the ability that, like Jack Nicklaus said, or I'm sorry, was it Jack Nicklaus? Arnold Palmer said, I see that the more I practice, the luckier I get.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. The more you stick at it, those opportunities are going to come around with you. And I'm a sucker for cheesy sayings, but you stop getting second chances the minute you stop taking them.
Yeah, absolutely, 1,000%. And it really ties into where you are today, because you had to make the decision. You went to college, and then you made a decision at some point that you were going to actually pull the trigger and go to law school. And at the time, you are already a family man, right? Am I correct?
Yeah. Well, Sarah and I we got married when I transferred to Berkeley. Yeah.
What's that process? Because there's a mindset that I can't continue going down this path because there's other people depending on me, right? There's a mental pull. There's a struggle, right? Did you experience that?
Yeah, I still do. I look at jobs, like for now, right now I look at this election and I go, man, if I didn't have family, I could pack my bag and I could move down to DC tomorrow and jump in with some think tank and just start doing that. Or I could go and get on, take a job as a journalist. I've thought of that, but I'm like, man, I can't just shift careers right now. I have children and stuff. I got to make sure that is taken care of first. Yeah. That's first and foremost. We're as a animal, as a human animal, As soon as you have children and a wife too, societally, you take on a wife, your whole perspective changes